The rain hammered the windshield like fists of regret as Elias Thorne gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white against the worn leather of the old pickup truck barreling down the fog-choked highway out of Evergreen Hollow. In the back seat, bundled under a threadbare blanket, his 3-year-old son, Jasper, stirred with a whimper that sliced through Elias's chest sharper than any blade, because Jasper carried the eyes of the man who had shattered everything. And now that man was coming for them both, his shadow stretching longer than the storm clouds devouring the Oregon sky. "You think you can run forever, Omega?" Ronan's voice echoed in Elias's mind, gravel rough and laced with that alpha command that once made his knees buckle, now twisted into a threat spat over a crackling phone line 2 nights ago. "That boy's mine. And so are you." Elias's breath hitched as headlights pierced the rearview mirror, too close, too relentless. A black SUV slicing through the downpour like a predator scenting blood. His heart thundered not just from fear, but from the traitorous ache that bloomed every time he pictured Ronan's face. Sharp jaw shadowed with stubble, storm-gray eyes that could strip you bare, broad shoulders that had once cradled him through the heat of their mating bond. Enemy, lover, father. The words tangled like thorns in his throat as he floored the accelerator, the truck shuddering toward the glittering sprawl of Seattle, where anonymity waited like a fragile promise. But promises had burned him before. 3 years ago, in the salt-kissed air of Evergreen Hollow, Ronan Hale had swept into town like a wildfire. Alpha heir to the Hale logging empire, all charisma and quiet dominance, buying up old mills and whispering dreams of a future unbound by pack rivalries. Elias, a lowly beta mechanic in his father's crumbling garage. Wait, no, he was Omega through and through. His heat's a secret shame in a town that still whispered about unnatural bonds, had fixed Ronan's sleek Ford one rainy afternoon, their fingers brushing over a wrench, igniting a spark neither could deny. "Your trouble," Elias had murmured, wiping grease from his hands, his suppressants barely holding back the pull of Ronan's scent. Pine and smoke, earth after a storm. Ronan had leaned in, close enough to taste the air between them, his voice a low rumble. "The best kind. Let me show you." What followed was a summer of stolen nights in the pines behind the Hollow's old lighthouse, bodies slick with sweat and sea mist, Ronan's teeth grazing Elias's neck in marks that faded too soon. They talked of leaving, Ronan railing against his father's iron grip on the pack, Elias dreaming of a city where Omegas weren't sidelined whispers. Love bloomed fierce and unguarded, until the betrayal hit like a felled tree. Ronan's father, Harlan Hale, uncovered the affair. Not just any fling. An Omega from the rival Thorne pack, Elias's own bloodline fractured by old feuds over logging rights and territory lines. Harlan's rage was biblical. Ronan was betrothed to a beta from an allied clan, a union to seal fortunes. "You'll ruin us," Harlan had snarled at Ronan, but it was Elias who paid first, his garage torched under cover of night, whispers of Omega witch slithering through the town. Ronan chose silence. No fight, no flight with Elias, just a cold goodbye in the pre-dawn fog. "It's over. For your safety." The words had gutted him, especially when weeks later, the nausea hit and the test confirmed it. Jasper, their miracle in a world that still viewed Omega pregnancies as fragile curses. Elias fled to Seattle that very day, holing up in a cramped Capitol Hill apartment, scraping by as a barista while his belly swelled in secret. He named the boy Jasper after the jagged coastal stones that had witnessed their first kiss. Unbreakable, or so he'd thought. Ronan became a ghost in tabloid headlines. Hale heir expanding the empire, spotted with his fiancée at galas, the perfect alpha facade. But ghosts have long arms. Jasper's 3rd birthday brought the first crack. A letter slipped under the door, Harlan's seal embossed in gold. "The boy's a Hale. Return him or we take everything." Elias burned it, but the calls started, anonymous at first, then Ronan's voice breaking through, raw and unfiltered. "Elias. I know. Let me see him." "Enemy." The word anchored him through sleepless nights, Jasper's tiny hand in his as they walked Pike Place under strings of market lights. The boy's laughter a bomb against the Omega instincts screaming to submit, to run back to the alpha who sired him. Ronan had chosen power over love once. What made Elias think he'd choose differently now? The SUV gained ground as the highway curved toward the city lights, Seattle's skyline a jagged promise of refuge. Elias's phone buzzed on the dash. Unknown number, but he knew. He let it ring, jaw clenched, until Jasper's cry pierced the roar of tires on wet asphalt. "Daddy?" Scary lights. "It's okay, buddy," Elias whispered, voice cracking as he veered onto the off-ramp, heart pounding a war drum. "Daddy's got you." But as the truck fishtailed into the neon glow of downtown, he wondered if "got you" meant shield or surrender. The chase ended in a screech of brakes outside a nondescript diner on the edge of Belltown. Rain sheeting down like tears the sky couldn't hold back. Elias scooped Jasper into his arms, blanket and all, bolting through the downpour toward the flickering open sign. The bell above the door jangled like a warning as he collapsed into a corner booth, dripping and shivering, the boy burrowing into his chest. "Coffee black," Elias rasped to the waitress, a tired woman with tattooed arms and kind eyes that didn't pry. Jasper dozed off against him, thumb in mouth, oblivious to the storm outside, or the one brewing within his father. The door swung open again minutes later, admitting a gust of wind, and the silhouette Elias had both craved and cursed in equal measure. Ronan Hale stepped in, soaked to the bone, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, gray eyes scanning the room like a hawk until they locked on Elias. The air thickened with his scent, alpha pheromones cutting through the grease and pie smells, making Elias's pulse stutter, his omega core clenching in traitorous response. "You drove like hell," Ronan said, voice low as he slid into the booth opposite, uninvited. Up close, the lines around his eyes were deeper, the stubble silver-flecked, a man hardened by 3 years of what-ifs. "Leave," Elias hissed, cradling Jasper tighter, the boy's warmth a shield against the pull. "You have no right." Ronan's gaze dropped to the sleeping child, softening in a way that twisted the knife. "He looks just like you. But those eyes. God, Elias, those are mine." The waitress set down the coffee, oblivious to the tension coiling like a spring. Elias wrapped his hands around the mug, the heat grounding him. "You lost the right when you let your father burn my life to the ground. When you walked away without a fight." Ronan's jaw tightened, fists clenching on the scarred formica table. "I fought. Every damn day. Harlan threatened you, said he'd expose your heat cycles to the whole hollow, make you a pariah. I thought distance would protect you." "Lies," Elias spat, but his voice wavered, the old hurt bubbling up like bile. "You chose the empire. The fiancé. The pack." "No." Ronan's hand shot across the table, stopping inches from Elias's, the air between them crackling. "I ended it with her the night I found out about the fire. But you were gone. Vanished. I tore the state apart looking." Jasper stirred then, blinking awake to the stranger's voice. "Who dat, Daddy?" Elias's throat closed. "Just someone from home, Jazzy." Ronan's breath caught, raw hunger in his eyes as he leaned closer. "Hey kiddo. I'm your uncle." The lie hung heavy, but it bought a moment, Jasper's curiosity overriding fear as he peered at the big man with Ronan's own stormy gaze. The diner clock ticked like a heartbeat, the rain easing to a patter. Elias watched Ronan coax a shy smile from their son over greasy fries, the sight fracturing something deep inside him, resentment warring with the bone-deep yearning for what could have been. This man was enemy by blood, by betrayal, but in the fluorescent glow, with Jasper giggling at a silly face, he was also the alpha who'd whispered mine against Elias's skin in the dark. As the night deepened, Ronan didn't leave. They talked in fragments, Elias's job at the coffee roastery, the tiny apartment with views of the Sound, Jasper's love for building forts from couch cushions. Ronan shared haltingly. Harlan stroked 2 years back, leaving him to helm the crumbling Hale legacy amid boardroom wolves, the guilt that gnawed like termites on oak. "Why now?" Elias finally asked, voice barely above the hum of the jukebox crooning some old Springsteen tune about Thunder Roads. "Because I can't breathe without knowing you're safe." Ronan's eyes met his, stripped bare. "And because he's ours. Let me help. No strings. Just let me in." Elias wanted to say no, to summon the walls he built brick by Omega stubbornness. But as Jasper yawned and nestled between them, tiny hand fisting Ronan's shirt, the walls trembled. Seattle's lights blurred through the window, a city of second chances and hidden scars. And for the first time in years, Elias wondered if love could outrun the odds. Dawn crept over the sound like a hesitant lover, painting the apartment windows in hues of rose and slate as Elias unlocked the door to their third-floor walk-up. Jasper clutched his stuffed whale, Finn, eyes wide at the towering alpha trailing them up the creaky stairs. Ronan moving like he belonged, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder that screamed, "I'm staying whether you like it or not." "Home sweet home," Elias muttered, flipping on the single bulb in the living room, its light catching dust motes dancing like fireflies. The space was a testament to survival. Mismatched furniture scavenged from alleys, Jasper's crayon masterpieces taped to peeling wallpaper, a kitchenette where dreams simmered on low heat beside instant ramen. Ronan paused in the doorway, taking it in with a reverence that made Elias's skin prickle. "It's you. All of it." His gaze lingered on a faded photo pinned to the fridge, Elias and Jasper at the aquarium, the boy's face alight with wonder at the beluga's glide. "Crash on the couch," Elias said briskly, avoiding those eyes as he settled Jasper in his toddler bed. The ritual of storytime, a armor against vulnerability. Bathrooms down the hall. "I'm beat." But sleep was a thief that night, stealing fragments of peace only to replay old reels. Ronan's hands mapping his body under starlit pines, the swell of his belly and stolen glances at the mirror, the hollow echo of the garage's ruins. When a soft knock came at midnight, Elias knew resistance was futile. Ronan stood there in borrowed sweats too tight on his frame, moonlight carving shadows across his chest. "Can't sleep. Your scent. It's everywhere." The admission hung raw, alpha need threading his voice, but he didn't advance, respecting the invisible line Elias had drawn. "Sit," Elias sighed, gesturing to the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under Ronan's weight like gravity yielding. They talked then, really talked, voices low to not wake the boy down the hall. Ronan confessed the rot in the Hale Empire. Debts piling like storm debris, betas in the pack whispering of secession, Harlan's ghost demanding purity in bloodlines. "I stripped the engagement the day after the fire," Ronan said, rubbing his neck where Elias's mark had once bloomed faint and silver. "But pride. Hell, fear kept me from chasing you sooner. Thought you'd hate me less from afar." Elias pulled his knees up, the quilt bunching like waves. "Hate's a luxury I couldn't afford." Jasper needed a father who wouldn't bolt. But even as he said it, his hand found Ronan's, calluses rough from boardrooms and betrayals, a bridge across the chasm. Morning brought routine laced with novelty. Ronan at the tiny stove, flipping pancakes with a concentration that bordered on comic, Jasper perched on a stool, chattering about whales and Big Uncle's funny flip. Elias watched from the doorway, coffee steaming in his mug, a warmth unfurling in his chest that scared him more than any chase. Work pulled him away by 9. Shifts at the roastery in Pioneer Square. Grinding beans under the aroma of Ethiopian dark roasts, the hum of espresso machines drowning doubts. But Ronan lingered, promising playground runs and grocery hauls, his presence a tether Elias both tugged and feared. The first fracture came that afternoon. Elias returned to find Ronan on the fire escape, phone pressed to his ear, voice a whip crack of authority. "Tell the board the Evergreen acquisition stands. No concessions to Thorn remnants. We're Hales, we don't bend." Elias froze in the kitchen, the paper bags of takeout slipping from his fingers. Thorn remnants. His own fractured pack, clinging to scraps in the hollow, now fodder for Ronan's expansion. The old wound reopened, betrayals taste bitter as overbrewed chicory. "You son of a bitch," Elias breathed when Ronan hung up, the alpha turning with surprise melting into regret. "It's business, Elias. The hollow's dying, jobs, homes. I'm saving it. Saving it by gutting my people? The ones who took me in when your father called me trash." Jasper's laughter from the living room twisted the knife. Innocent, unaware. Ronan stepped closer, hands raised. "Your pack started the few generations back. This ends it. Merges us. Us." Elias laughed, hollow. "You mean swallows us whole." The argument spilled into dusk, voices rising like tide, until Jasper's wail cut through. "Overstimulated. scared by the thunder of grown-up storms. Ronan scooped him up first, murmuring apologies into soft curls, and Elias hated how right it looked, how his omega heart yearned despite the rage. They patched it with pizza on the floor, Jasper mediating with greasy fingers and demands for "more cheese, please," but the seed of doubt took root. Evenings blurred into a fragile rhythm. Ronan telecommuting from the coffee table, his laptop a portal to empires Elias glimpsed in stolen glances, spreadsheets of timber yields, emails laced with deference. Jasper thrived, calling Ronan Uro in that toddler slur. The alpha melting into putty at bedtime songs crooned off-key. Yet nights were minefields. One, after Jasper's fever broke with Ronan's vigil at his side, Elias woke to the alpha's hand on his hip, a tentative anchor in the dark. "I never stopped loving you," Ronan whispered, breath hot against his neck. "Every deal, every dawn, it was for this. For us." Elias turned, their faces inches apart, the bond humming like a live wire. He kissed him then, slow and searing, tasting salt of unshed tears, bodies remembering paths long overgrown. It was forgiveness in motion, Omega yielding to Alpha not in submission, but in shared surrender. Hands exploring scars, mouths mapping apologies, the room filling with gasps that echoed their first night by the lighthouse. But dawn brought clarity's cold edge. As Ronan dressed for a virtual meet with Seattle developers, his phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. "Hail, Thorn Boys leverage. Use it or lose the board." Elias glimpsed it over his shoulder, heart plummeting. "Who's that?" he demanded, voice steel. Ronan pocketed it swiftly. "Nothing. Old pack noise. Lies again." The word lodged like splinter. Elias nodded, but as he kissed Jasper goodbye for daycare drop-off, resolve hardened. Ronan was weaving back in, thread by golden thread. But enemies didn't change stripes overnight. Love was a gamble, and Elias had a child to shield. That week, whispers reached him at the roastery. Baristas gossiping about Hale's push into urban green spaces, eyeing Capitol Hill for redevelopment. Elias's apartment block, rent-stabilized haven for artists and immigrants, topped the list. Coincidence? Or Ronan carving space inch by possessive inch? Confrontation brewed over dinner, Jasper Abed. The air thick with pad thai steam and unspoken barbs. "You're buying up the hill," Elias accused, fork-stabbing noodles. "My home. Our home." Ronan's fork paused. "It's investment. Stabilizing rents, not evicting." "Bull. I saw the prospectus on your desk. Demolition for lofts that only alphas like you can afford." The alpha's eyes flashed. "You think I'm that monster? Harlan's shadow. Aren't you?" Elias shot back, the hurt spilling. "You hide texts, make promises with one hand and take with the other." Ronan shoved back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. "I'm building something real here. For Jasper. For." "Don't." Elias stood, chest heaving. "You don't get to claim him until you claim us. All of us, not just the pretty parts." The door to the fire escape banged open. Ronan storming into the night, leaving Elias amid cooling food and echoing silence. He sank to the floor, back against cabinets, tears hot on cheeks. Love wasn't linear. It was this jagged edges, bleeding hopes. Hours later, the door creaked. Ronan returned, reeking of rain and regret, kneeling before Elias with a folder in hand. "Sign this. Power of attorney for Jasper joint. And the building? I pulled the bid. It's yours. Community co-op." Elias stared, the papers trembling in his grasp. "Trust fragile as rice paper." "Why?" "Because losing you again would kill me slower than any boardroom blade." Ronan's voice broke, forehead pressing to Elias's knee. "Teach me how to be better. For him. For you." In that moment, with city lights winking like conspirators, Elias pulled him up. Their kiss a vow sealed in salt and second chances. But deep down the text lingered, a serpent in Eden, whispering of betrayals yet to uncoil. Autumn etched Seattle in amber and rust, leaves skittering along Queen and sidewalks like secrets fleeing the wind. Elias watched Ronan chase Jasper through Discovery Park's trails, the alpha hoisting the boy onto his shoulders, their laughter a melody that drowned the city's distant hum. It had been a month of this delicate dance, mornings tangled in sheets, scents mingling in lazy post-heat afterglows, evenings where Ronan read Jasper tales of pirate whales braving tempests. Elias's heats had returned with vengeance, the suppressants abandoned like old skin. Ronan nodded him through fevered nights, alpha rumbles soothing the ache, but it was the after, arms wrapped tight, whispers of stay breathed into hair, that bound tighter than any bond. Yet trust was a seedling tender against frost. The call came on a crisp Saturday, Elias elbow-deep in flour for apple pie, Jasper napping under a quilt pieced from thrift store scraps. Ronan's phone, left charging on the counter, vibrated with insistence. Against better judgment, Elias glanced. Harlan's old lieutenant, Marcus, the text stark. Board demands proof of thorn neutralization. Child's lineage confirmed. Act now or coup. Elias's blood iced, pie crust crumbling in his fists. Ronan burst in then, cheeks flushed from park romps, freezing at the accusation in Elias's eyes. What the hell is this? Elias thrust the phone forward, voice a whip. Ronan scanned it, color draining. Marcus is rogue, stirring shit to oust me. It's not. Proof. Elias echoed, stepping back as if burned. Of what? Using our son as a pawn. The kitchen shrank, air thickening with pheromones, omega distress spiking, alpha comm fracturing. Jasper's cry from the bedroom shattered the standoff. Ronan moving first, scooping the boy with murmured comforts while Elias trailed, fury leashed by necessity. Later, with Jasper settled in front of cartoons, they retreated to the fire escape. City sprawl a glittering indictment below. Ronan leaned on the railing, shoulders bowed. Harlan's will had clauses, blood purity for succession. Marcus enforces it like gospel. The board's fracturing. They want leverage to force my hand. Your hand on my pack's throat? Elias's voice trembled. Or Jasper's future bartered for votes? Ronan turned, eyes stormy. I'd burn the empire before harming him. You know that. Do I? The question hung, laced with 3 years' venom. You hid the texts. Let me glimpse the monster your father's forging. Ron's hand cupped Elias's cheek, thumb tracing the scar from that long-ago garage blaze. I'm not him. Let me prove it. Come to the hollow with me. Face the pack. Show them we're unbreakable. The invitation dangled like a lifeline or noose. Evergreen Hollow. Ghosts of flames and farewells. Kin who'd shunned him for omega weakness. But Jasper deserved roots and Ronan deserved a chance to rewrite their ending. They left at dawn, the truck laden with snacks and trepidation. Ronan driving with one hand on Elias's thigh, a silent anchor. Jasper babbled from his car seat about big trees and Roro's stories, oblivious to the stakes. The coastal drive wound through evergreens, mist veiling memories until the hollow emerged. Clapboard houses huddled against the sea, the old lighthouse sentinel to sins. The Hale estate loomed on the bluff, a Victorian behemoth of gables and ghosts, Harlan's portrait glaring from the foyer mantel. Pack elders gathered in the great room, betas and alphas in wool and suspicion, Marcus at the fore with a ledger of grievances. Whispers hushed as Ronan entered, Elias at his side, Jasper on hip, a tableau of defiance. Family, Ronan announced, voice resonant as tide. Meet Elias Thorne, my mate. And Jasper Hale, our son. Gasps rippled, Marcus's face twisting like curdled milk. An omega? From rivals? This violates. Violates nothing, Ronan cut in, alpha command rolling like thunder. Harlan's era ends. We merge packs, not conquer. Thornlands preserved, jobs shared. Or I walk and you crumble alone. Elias stood tall, Jasper's weight grounding him, meeting stares with chin lifted. We're not remnants. We're blood. Let healing begin, or history repeats its cruelties. The room shifted, murmurs turning thoughtful. An elder beta nodding slow approval. Marcus slunk back, but his glare promised reprisal. Dinner followed, tense but thawing. Pie from Elias's recipe earning smiles, Jasper's antics melting ice. That night, in the guest wing's four-poster, with Jasper asleep in a nest of pillows, Ronan pulled Elias close. You were magnificent, he murmured, lips trailing neck. My brave Omega. Their lovemaking was fierce, reclaiming. Bodies arching under canopy shadows, moans muffled in linen, the bond flaring bright as lighthouse beam. Afterward, tangled and sated, Elias traced Ronan's chest, heart tattoo inked post-breakup, a jagged stone Jasper's namesake. "I believe you," he whispered. "But Marcus." "Screw him." Ronan's kiss sealed it, a vow against Dawn's. Back in Seattle, harmony bloomed tentative. Ronan integrated, board meetings yielding to family picnics at Alki Beach, sandcastles crowning Jasper King. Elias's Pat kin trickled north, tentative olive branches over coffee, old feuds fading like fog. But betrayal's shadow lengthened. One eve, Elias found papers in Ronan's briefcase, deeds to thorn fringes, signed over in merger fine print that gutted water rights. His hands shook, calling Ronan from a late negotiation. "You're selling them out," Elias accused when the Alpha arrived, reeking of bourbon and lies. "It's facade for Marcus's spies. I rerouted funds to co-ops." Ronan spread documents, frantic. "Trust me." Elias wanted to, God he did. But doubt festered, Omega instincts screaming flight. "How many facades, Ronan? Until Jasper pays." The fight erupted, words like shrapnel. Ronan storming out, Elias barricading with Jasper, tears soaking the boy's hair as he soothed nightmares of Daddy Mad. Reconciliation came at dawn, Ronan on knees in the hall, bruised from a bar scuffle with Marcus's cronies. "I ended it, fired the lot, dissolved the board. It's ours now, clean." Proof followed. Headlines of Hale restructuring, community trusts blooming. Elias folded into him, forgiveness a flood. Winter whispered in, holidays strung with lights on the apartment's modest tree. Jasper's eyes sparkled at gifts. A toy sawmill from Ronan, promising build big like us. But as snow dusted the sound, a letter arrived. Anonymous, postmarked hollow. The child's Omega. Weakness exposed. Choose, empire or exile. Marcus's hand venomous. Ronan's rage ignited, vowing purge, but Elias saw the toll. Alpha fraying at edges, love's weight bowing broad shoulders. In the quiet after, as Jasper dreamed of sugar plums, Elias held Ronan, their bond a bastion. "We're stronger," he murmured. "Together." But strength tests in tempests, and the storm gathered, winds howling of choices yet unmade. January's chill seeped through Seattle's bones, the Space Needle a frozen spire against leaden skies, mirroring the frost creeping back into Elias and Ronan's fragile thaw. Jasper's 4th birthday dawned bright, balloons bobbing in the apartment like defiant suns, but Elias woke to an empty bed. Ronan sighed, cool as betrayal's echo. A note on the pillow. "Meeting Marcus. End this today. Love you." Elias crumpled it, stomach nodding. Love, that reckless word, tossed like chum to circling doubts. He dressed Jasper in his wooliest sweater, the boy's excitement over chocolate cake forever, a buoy against worry, dropping him at preschool with extra hugs, as if premonition nipped heels. The roastery shift dragged, beans grinding to powder under his absent hands, co-workers' chatter on Super Bowl bets fading to static. His phone stayed silent, each glance a stab, until it buzzed at noon, Ronan's name flashing like flare. "Elias." Voice strained, background a murmur of voices. "It's done," Marcus confessed, Harlan's hidden clauses, embezzlement. "He's out, packs mine to rebuild." Relief flooded, warm as first sip of pour over. "Come home. Cake's waiting." But the line crackled, Ronan's breath hitching. "There's something." Harlan's safe letters. He knew about Jasper from the start. Wanted him. Leveraged. Elias gripped the counter, world tilting. "Leveraged how?" "Against you. To force submission." Pause heavy. "I burned them. It's over." "Not quite." Evening brought Ronan through the door, hollow-cheeked, a man who'd stared down demons. Jasper launched into his arms, oblivious, but Elias saw the shadows, bruises blooming on knuckles, eyes haunted. They celebrated in fits, cake smeared on chubby cheeks, Ronan leading a raucous happy birthday that cracked midway into chuckle sob. Later, with Jasper bathed and bedded, Elias led Ronan to the shower, water cascading like absolution, hands gentle on welts. "Tell me everything," Elias murmured, soaping broad back, tracing the map of scars old and new. Ronan leaned into touch, water-veiling tears. Marcus cornered me at the hollow office. Ambush with 2 betas, fists and ultimatums. Said expose Jasper as Omega heir. Paint him defect to sway the pack. I fought dirty, called in favors. But Harlan. The letters detailed your heats, tracked you here. Sick obsession. Elias's hand stilled, bile rising. He hated me that much? Worse. Feared you. An Omega bridging Pax, diluting his purity myth. Ronan's turn, fingers threading Elias's hair. I torched the evidence. Rewrote the charter, no blood tests, no hierarchies. Equality. The word hung sacred, Omega heart swelling. They made love under the spray, urgent and tender. Ronan lifting him against tile. Thrusts deep as promises, Elias's nails raking back in claim. Climax shattered them, cries mingling with steam, bond pulsing gold. February bloom tentative. Valentines with rooftop picnic under heated lamps. City Valentine below. Ronan gifted a locket, engraved stone, Jasper's curl inside. Elias countered with tattoo ink, adding a lighthouse to Ronan's chest. Needles bite a vow etched permanent. But spring stirred serpents. Pack migration north began. Thorn kin arriving in waves, bunking in hail-funded lofts, old animosities simmering over shared tables. Elias mediated, Omega intuition threading peace, but Ronan chafed, alpha instincts bristling at concessions. You gave too much, Ronan grumbled one night, poring over ledgers by lamplight, Jasper asleep on his lap. Water rights halved, your auntie's farm suffers. Elias knelt, closing the book. Gave for unity. Like you taught. Ronan's smile ghosted, weary. Maybe I'm the lesson in excess. Doubt seeded anew, but Elias nurtured trust, planning a getaway. Cabin in the Olympics, just them reclaiming wild roots. The drive wound through fern-choked passes, Jasper's queries a soundtrack to healing. Why trees whisper, Daddy? 'Cause they got stories, Ronan replied, hand squeezing Elias's over gearshift. The cabin nestled by a loam-scented lake. Isolation a bomb. Days blurred and idle. Fishing with makeshift poles, Jasper squeals at minnows. Nights by fire pit, Esmery sticky sweet. Ronan's head in Elias's lap as stars wheeled overhead. One eve as embers died, Ronan pulled a box from his pack. Velvet, unassuming. Inside twin rings. Hammered silver, inlaid with evergreen flecks. Not legal, not yet. But bond true. Marry me, Elias. Make this forever. Tears pricked joy sharp. Yes, Elias breathed, slipping it on, the weight right as heartbeat. They sealed it lakeside under moon's witness, bodies joining in grass, slow and profound. Alpha not locking them as one, cries echoing to indifferent pines. Return brought buzz. Pact merger formalized, celebration feast at the estate. Kin mingling under chandeliers aglow. Jasper danced with betas, Elias with Ronan. Waltz steps sinking like breaths. But Marcus lurked in shadows, disgraced yet unbowed, his toast laced honey venom. To new beginnings, may they not devour the old. Elias shivered, Ronan's arm tightening. Ignore him. He's ash. Yet ash reignites. Mid-May, as lilacs perfumed Capitol Hill, Elias's heat crested unexpected. Early, fierce, Omega body demanding in waves that buckled him at work. Ronan fetched him, bundling into the truck, but en route a call. Estate alarm. Intruders. They raced to the hollow, Jasper with a sitter, arriving to chaos, doors splintered, files ransacked. Missing. The rewritten charter, Jasper's birth records. Marcus's signature scrawled on a taunt. Purity prevails. Exile or war. Ronan's roar shook rafters, alpha fury unbound. But Elias clutched his arm, voice steady. Not war. Us against him. Call the kin, thorn and hail, one front. The hunt mobilized, packs uniting in vigil, search parties combing bluffs. Days bled into nights, Elias pacing with suppressants failing, heat's haze sharpening fears. Ronan barely slept, coordinating from war room, his touch Elias's anchor, quick kisses in halls murmured minus against temples. Break came at dawn, fourth day. A thorn cousin spotting Marcus's truck at the old lighthouse, documents clutched like talismans. Confrontation brewed salty, waves crashing below as Pax encircled. Marcus, wild-eyed, waved papers. This ends the dilution. Hail blood pure. Ronan advanced, voice steel. Blood's meaningless without heart. Stand down or face all of us. Elias stepped forward then, heat flushed but unbowed. Omega presence a quiet thunder. You fear what you don't understand. Jasper's no dilution, he's bridge. Join or fade. Marcus lunged, desperation's blade glinting, but Ronan intercepted, grapple fierce on slick stone. Fists flew, grunts mingling with gulls' cries, until a beta's tackle pinned him, papers scattering into surf. Custody followed. Marcus bound for council trial. Records recovered, soaked but salvageable. Pax cheered as Ronan claimed Elias publicly. Kiss salt-kissed and fierce, Jasper arriving later to clamber between legs, uniting cheers. Healing followed but scars lingered. Elias's heat peaked that night in the estate's master suite, Ronan tending with reverence. Ice packs and teas, then slow surrender, bodies weaving new life from old wounds. Weeks later a test confirmed. Another child, spark of hope amid ashes. Summer solstice brought wedding, clifftop under woven garlands, Pax witnesses as vows exchanged, Jasper ringbearer in tiny vest. Rings slipped on, bonds reaffirmed, love's declaration roaring louder than sea. But as sun dipped, Elias caught Ronan's glance seaward, shadow fleeting. Enemies felled, yet echoes whisper. Can love truly defy all odds, or does it merely postpone the fall? High summer draped evergreen hollow in golden haze. Wildflowers nodding along bluff paths, as if in benediction to the new life stirring within Elias. The pregnancy announced itself subtly at first. A flutter like butterfly rebellion in his belly. Nausea chased by insatiable cravings for salted caramel and Ronan's pine-scented skin. At 20 weeks, the ultrasound painted pictures of tiny limbs and a heartbeat strong as Ronan's grip. Jasper pressing nose to screen in awe. Baby brother? Play trucks. Ronan's joy was a force, alpha nesting instincts turning the estate into fortress of softness. Bassinet carved from reclaimed hollow oak. Walls papered in starry maps for dreamers. Elias watched him one afternoon in the nursery, sanding edges with focus that bordered prayer, shirt sleeves rolled to elbows, muscles flexing in sunlight slanting through mullioned windows. You're building a kingdom, Elias teased, hand on swell, leaning in doorway. Ronan glanced up, gray eyes softening to mist. Ours. No empires, just this. Words like bomb, yet Elias's Omega intuition prickled. Marcus's trial loomed. Pack justice a specter over idols. The disgraced beta languished in holding cells beneath the estate, awaiting counsel, his whispers through bars sowing discord. Elders questioning Omega heirs, betas murmuring of unbalanced bonds. Elias ignored it, focusing on swells and kicks. Ronan's hand splayed nightly over his abdomen, murmuring to the bump in rumbling tones that lulled Jasper to giggles. Seattle visits wove in, doctor checks in sterile clinics, Ronan white-knuckling chairs during scans, then treats at Pike Place, oysters slurped with abandon. But August heat wave baked tensions. A pack gathering at the lighthouse, solstice echo, bonfire crackling against dusk, turned maelstrom when Marcus's allies surfaced grievances. Lost lands, diluted traditions. Ronan quelled it, voice authoritative, but Elias felt the undercurrent, Omega sensitivity to discord like barometer to storm. That night, abed with windows open to salt breeze, Elias voiced it, head pillowed on Ronan's chest. They resent me. The child. Ronan's fingers stilled in hair. Resent change. Not you. Give time. Time, that slippery ally. September brought harvest, apples ripening in thorn orchards now co-managed, Elias waddling rows with Jasper, basket heavy, Ronan trailing with water and wary eyes. A slip then, overripe fruit tumbling, Elias twisting to catch, pain lancing sharp. Easy, Ronan breathed, arm banding waist, face paling. Doc said rest. But rest chafed, confinement breeding cabin fever. Elias escaped to the Hollow's library, dusty tomes of pack lore, seeking solace in yellowed pages. There, tucked in genealogy ledgers, a revelation. Harlan's line traced not pure alpha, but Omega ancestor suppressed, scrubbed to myth. Heart racing, Elias confronted Ronan in the study, ledger-thumping desk. Your father lied. Built his hate on fiction. Ronan scanned pages, jaw slackening. Bastard. All for control. Empowerment surged, Elias rallying elders next morn, unveiling truth over coffee and scones, voices rising in vindication. Our history's woven, not wedged, he declared, hand on belly. Embrace it. Applause rippled, fractures mending, but Marcus's sentencing day shattered glass. Council convened in the great hall, packs flanking benches, air thick with incense and anticipation. Marcus, shackled, sneered as charges read. Embezzlement, assault, sedition. Ronan testified first, recounting ambush, voice even. He twisted Harlan's venom into weapon. But justice isn't vengeance, it's renewal. Elias followed, Omega testimony rare. His words steady despite kicks protesting. You feared love's bridge. Fear no more, cross it. Verdict. Exile, stripped of name, banished beyond territories. As guards led him out, Marcus's eyes locked on Elias, promise dark. Blood calls to blood. You'll see. Chills skittered, but Ronan's arm around shoulders warded. Celebration followed. Feast of roasted game and elderberry wine. Jasper twirling with cousins, the hall alive with toasts to unity. October gilded leaves, Elias's belly a harvest moon. Mobility waning but spirit soaring. Ronan adapted, carrying him upstairs with gruff tenderness. Nights spent in baths drawn scented. Bodies close without demand. Alpha restraint a devotion deeper than lust. Yet dreams plagued Elias. Marcus's gaze recurring, whispers of shadows encroaching. He woke sweating one pre-dawn, Ronan stirring. Talk. Just. Echoes. Elias curled closer, seeking alpha heat. Ronan's hand splayed protective. I've doubled guards. You're safe. Safety's illusion cracked mid-month. A package arrived unmarked, addressed to the Omega imposter. Inside, charred remnants of birth records. A note. Purity's fire consumes. Postmark. Anonymous but ink smudged with hollow salt. Panic-crusted, Ronan mobilizing searches, but Elias retreated inward, Omega fears amplifying. Visions of loss, child snatched like tide's theft. He lashed at Ronan during a check. You promised end. It's circling. Ronan knelt, forehead to swell. I'll end it again. For you. For them. Resolution brewed in Ronan's absence. Elias, restless, drove to the lighthouse alone. Jasper at playdate. Craving seas roar for clarity. Cliffs beckoned, wind whipping hair. Belly heavy as anchor. There silhouette against surf. Not Marcus but elder thorn Aunt Mira, face etched worry. Child, you glow, she said, embracing. But shadows lengthen. Heard whispers, Marcus fled custody, allies aiding. Elias's blood chilled. How? Old tunnels, smuggler paths. Myra's grip tightened. Return. Ronan needs you whole. Homeward, phone died in storm, Elias arriving to pandemonium. Ronan pacing foyer, packs mobilized. Where? Relief crashed into embrace, then fury. Never alone. Not now. Argument flared, words wounding. Elias accusing overprotection. Ronan fear-driven control. I'm not fragile. Elias shouted, tears hot. You're everything. Ronan roared back, voice breaking. Losing you twice would unmake me. Silence fell raw. Jasper toddled in then, sensing storm burrowing between. They knelt, hands linking over boy. Apologies unspoken but felt. Purge followed. Tunnels sealed, allies rooted out. Marcus's trail cold to Canada whispers. November's chill deepened. Thanksgiving gathering packs and warmth. Turkey carved joint, stories shared. Jasper's prayer thanking RRO and baby sis drawing laughs. Ultrasound confirmed girl name whispered. Willow for bending trees. Elias bloomed but vigilance lingered. Love's light casting long shadows. As frost etched panes, Elias traced Ronan's sleeping face. Bond humming lullaby. Enemies without, doubts within, yet here in heartbeats duet. Odds bent to hope. Winter's grip tightened on the hollow like a jealous lover. Snow blanketing bluffs in hush. Muffling the world's clamor but amplifying heartbeats within the estate's walls. Elias at 36 weeks, moved like a ship in full sail. Belly preceding him through halls scented with pine boughs and simmering cider. Jasper trailing with questions about when baby pops out like toast. Ronan hovered, a sentinel alpha, His world narrowed to Elias's comfort. Heating pads for aching back, midnight runs to the 24-hour market for pickle cravings, hands ever ready to lift or soothe. The bond thrummed constant now, Omega and Alpha entwined deeper with Willow's presence. Dreams shared in sleep, visions of family whole unscarred. But scars itched. Marcus's exile had quieted overt threats, but anonymous missives trickled. Postcards from Vancouver ports, scrawled warnings of returning heirs' reckoning. Ronan burned them unopened, jaw set, but Elias saw the toll, sleepless eyes, meetings cut short by phantom alerts. New Year's dawned crisp, fireworks blooming over the Sound visible from the bluff, Pax toasting in the great room with elderflower champagne. Jasper waved sparklers under supervision, face alight, while Elias leaned into Ronan, swell pressed to hip. "To us," Ronan murmured, kiss lingering, promise sealed in fizz. January thawed edges, but labor's shadow loomed. Contractions teased false alarms, Elias pacing nurseries with Mira. The aunt become confidant, her stories of Thorn Omega resilience a talisman. "We bend, don't break," she'd say, braiding Elias's hair with lavender sprigs. Ronan planned meticulously, hospital bag packed thrice over, birthing suite reserved in Portland's top clinic, packed betas on rotation for Jasper. Yet fate laughed, labor striking on a sleet-lashed night, waves crashing not just below cliffs but within. Elias woke at 2 a.m., breath catching, hand flying to tighten. "Ronan, it's time." Chaos bloomed controlled. Alpha springing from bed, phone summoning midwife, truck idling in drive with chains on tires. Jasper roused sleepy, hugged fierce before bundling to Myra's. The drive blurred, sleet sheeting windshield, Ronan's hand vice on Elias's knee through contractions, voice anchor. "Breathe with me. You're warrior." Portland's lights welcomed like beacons, air doors parting to bustle. Hours stretched elastic, Elias gripping bed rails, sweat slick, Omega pheromones flooding room, drawing Ronan's alpha calm like moth to flame. "Push, love," Ronan coached, forehead pressed to his, tears mingling. "Bring her home." Willow emerged at dawn, cry piercing as gulls, tiny fists flailing against world's chill. 8 pounds of fury and fragility, tufted dark hair, eyes slitting open to gray like her father's. Ronan cut cord with trembling hands, then cradled her, Alpha awe rendering him speechless, before placing her on Elias's chest. Skin to skin bond tripling in instant. "Perfect," Elias whispered, tears salting her crown. Jasper arrived midday, peering wide-eyed. "She's little. My sister." Finger poke gentle, wonder dawning. Discharge brought them home snow-dusted, estate wrapped in welcomes, banners strung, kin-bearing casseroles. Days melted into newborn haze. Willow's mule syncing with sea's rhythm, Jasper's protective shadowing, Ronan's nights in rocker humming lullabies low. But idol fractured early March. A courier delivered mid-feed, envelope sealed with faded hail crest, contents spilling. Photos of Jasper at preschool, Willow's bassinet empty in frame, note typed cold, heirs vulnerable. Yield control or collect pieces. M. Marcus. Vengeance's ghost striking from afar. Elias's milk soured in fear, Willow fussing as he clutched her closer. Ronan storming in to seize papers, face thunder. He crossed borders, international now. Ronan's voice edged blade. FBI pack liaisons activated. Ends permanent. Hunt escalated, Ronan jetting to Vancouver liaisons, leaving Elias fortified in a state. Guards tripled, packs rotating vigils. Isolation gnawed, Omega postpartum blues amplifying shadows, Willow's cries echoing doubts. Safe? Or lure? Jasper sensed fracture, clingy, demanding RO stories at bedtime. Elias spun them halting, tales of brave stones and lighthouse loves, but heart ached void. Ronan's return brought interim. Leads on Marcus in Seattle underbelly, false papers. Close, he vowed, holding Elias tight that night, Willow between. Won't touch you. April bloomed treacherous, cherry blossoms mocking with pink fragility. Elias ventured out, Willow and carrier, Jasper hand in hand to Hollow Market. Fresh bread, kin chats. Normalcy's armor. There in produce aisle, brush of shoulder, stranger, beta unremarkable, but sent off. Synthetic suppressants masking alpha trace. Panic spiked, Elias bolting home barricading. Phone dialing Ronan mid-dial tone. Lockdown, Ronan ordered, voice clipped over line. Coming. Breach confirmed later. Beta hireling Marcus's pawn scoping routines. Interrogation yielded crumb trail. Safe house in Belltown Lofts. Ironically near Elias's old apartment. Raid launched at dusk, Ronan leading strike team. Packs unified in shadows. Elias paced nursery, Willow nursing, Jasper abed with wail. Prayers whispered to indifferent stars. Dawn brought victory's toll. Marcus cornered in derelict warehouse, documents hoarding. Forged claims to hail fortune. Hit lists naming kin. Struggle fierce but numbers overwhelmed. Beta hauled in chains, snarling defeat. Ronan returned bloodied, lips split but eyes alight triumph. Done. Extradition to federal hold. Life without Pax. Elias met him at door, Willow passed to Mira. Pulling Alpha into bath. Water pink tinged, hands cleansing wounds. Hero, he murmured, kissing split flesh. Us, Ronan corrected, sinking into embrace. Always. Spring deepened, threats ashes, family rooting firm. Willow cooed milestones. First smile at Jasper's rattle shake. Grip tiny but tenacious on Ronan's thumb. Elias healed, body reclaiming strength. Omega essence vibrant in garden plots. Planting willows by the bluff. Memorial Day, Pax gathered cliffs for right. Ashes of old charters scattered to sea. Harlan's myths consigned. Ronan spoke. We choose compassion over conquest. Freedom in bonds unbroken. Elias added, Willow on hip. Identity not in blood but belonging chosen. Summer solstice circled back. Bonfire warmer, kin closer. No serpents, only light. Jasper led dances, Willow gurgling chorus. Ronan drawing Elias apart to lighthouse base. Rings glinting, moon kissed. Despite odds, Ronan said. Hand on swell of new possibility. Another flutter unspoken yet. Love wins, Elias replied, kiss sealing eternal. Yet in quiet hearts lesson lingers. Enemies may fall, but vigilance in love's garden ensures blooms endure. Compassion's weed, freedom's sun, identity's reign.